The momentum surrounding Caitlin Clark didn't just carry through prom. It grew with every passing hour, pulsing through social media, sports talk shows, and even mainstream news platforms that rarely acknowledge golf unless it involves a major championship. What was intended to be a quiet, casual exhibition suddenly became the epicenter of a cultural shift, and Caitlin found herself right in the middle of it. Her presence at the event had already stirred a level of anticipation that felt more like a heavyweight title fight than a weekday prom. Yet the reaction to her viral putt and the massive crowd that came just to watch her warm up had turned the entire experience into something bigger than anyone had expected. The moment Dave Portnoy's invitation hit the internet, everything snapped into a new gear. Caitlin Clark wasn't just a basketball star making a guest appearance. She was a headline, the gravitational force, the name that reshaped the narrative in real time. But the most striking part of the entire day wasn't the noise, the cheers, or the staggering view counts. It was how naturally Caitlin handled all of it. While fans escalated excitement and critics simmered with frustration, she moved through the course with the easy composure of someone who had been here 1,000 times before. She laughed with her caddie, took advice from fellow players, waved to kids along the rope line, and treated the whole experience like a welcome break from the intensity of her usual schedule. Nothing about her demeanor suggested she felt the weight of the spotlight on her. If anything, she made it look like a relaxing afternoon. That effortless calm, the kind that only true stars possess, is what kept her fans enchanted and her critics furious. She didn't have to demand attention. She simply existed, and the attention followed her like a shadow. As the sun drew lower on the horizon, illuminating the fairway in gold, the atmosphere around Caitlin became even more surreal. Everywhere she walked, phones shot up in the air, capturing her every move. It didn't matter whether she was preparing for a tee shot or simply taking a sip of water. Every moment was treated like a highlight, and every highlight only fueled the online conversation further. Commentators began referring to the event as the Caitlin Clark effect, a phenomenon where crowds spike, engagement skyrockets, and energy transforms the moment she enters the scene. It wasn't an exaggeration. It wasn't hype. It was documented reality, playing out in thousands of clips across every social platform imaginable. Meanwhile, the critics continued struggling to reclaim control of the narrative. They tried to diminish the significance of her viral putt by calling it luck, ignoring how cleanly she executed the stroke. They attempted to overshadow her fan turnout by pointing to other players, even though the footage made it impossible to pretend the crowd wasn't there for her. They insisted she was receiving too much attention, but their words had no impact. The roar of the crowd, the wave of support, and the undeniable thrill she brought to the event drowned out every complaint. It wasn't just that she drew fans. It was that she drew them in a way few athletes in modern sports can. Her popularity wasn't tied to a single sport. It wasn't a product of manufactured hype. It was organic, cross-generational, and deeply human. What truly bothered her critics was a realization that nothing they said mattered. Every attempt to undermine her fell flat as more people tuned in, shared clips, and celebrated the moment. Even those who had no interest in basketball or golf found themselves drawn into the spectacle. Caitlin Clark had managed to create a cultural moment in the most unexpected setting, and the internet refused to look away. The reaction to her presence at the prom wasn't just about fandom. It was about influence. It was about how certain athletes, through charisma and authenticity alone, become larger than the sport they play. By the time the event began winding down, the conversations online had shifted entirely. What started as frustration and criticism had transformed into something resembling acceptance, albeit begrudging acceptance from her haters. Analysts began predicting that her involvement in events like this could reshape the crossover landscape for athletes. Some speculated that the Internet Invitational will become the most viewed edition in the event's history if she accepted the invitation. Others pointed out the marketing implications, noting that Caitlin could very well become a defining figure in multi-sport visibility. Even neutral golf fans admitted that the prom had become more entertaining than they expected, all because one basketball star walked onto the course. And yet, in the center of all the noise, Caitlin remained grounded. She finished her day on the course the same way she started it, relaxed, gracious, and unbothered by the whirlwind surrounding her. When she walked off the final green, the crowd that had waited all day erupted once more, sending her off with the same energy they greeted her with. Their cheers lingered in the air long after she left the fairway, echoing across the course like the final note of a perfect performance. What happened that day at the Prom wasn't planned. It wasn't scripted. It wasn't engineered. It was a natural outcome of an athlete whose connection with fans transcends boundaries. It proved that Caitlin Clark is more than a basketball sensation. She is a cultural force, a magnet for attention, and a symbol of a new generation of star athletes who can captivate the world simply by showing up. And judging by the events of the day, the world is more than ready for whatever she decides to do next. If you enjoy breakdowns like this, do you think Caitlin Clark's crossover popularity is just beginning, or is she already at the peak of her influence? Should she accept the internet invitational invite, or focus strictly on basketball? And what other sport do you think she could dominate next? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more deep dive narratives like this, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update.